Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's January 18th, 2025. Eli, the clock just keeps moving faster and faster.
Oh, yes, it has, and it's
Right?
incredible. We're already here, halfway through, and we have a cold week ahead with a lot of
Yeah,
cold
in the
temperatures.
Northeast, we're expecting some snow in the Northeast, and but that's winter time in the Northeast. You got to expect it, right? So,
Absolutely. And we start off with a comment from Guy Coriano, who says, "Hello, guys."
hi, guy. And unfortunately, I was planning on visiting the Corianos this weekend, but the weather had other ideas. So,
Unfortunately,
anyway,
yeah.
we'll jump right into it. And first, Eli, I just wanted to send a note out to our listeners that we did have a little technical glitch last week, but you managed to put it all together so the show was in one loop and stuff. So I appreciate that, and certainly appreciate Kevin Jager for joining our show. It was really interesting and fine young man. So thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Kevin, for joining us. It was a great episode last week. I said it to you earlier. I've learned a lot from that episode, and feel bad for his commute upcoming. Now he's got to go to Long Island City and then back to downtown.
Yeah.
That's what I feel bad for the most. But yeah, we
Yeah.
learned a lot last week, and you could check out the full video under the video section, not the live section, on our YouTube channel. It's the full
Excellent.
1 hour length video.
All right, so we jump right into it, and of course, our monologue is sponsored by the aforementioned Coriano Trucking. Um, and Eli, you have the monologue, so take it away, my friend.
All right. Well, it was a tough choice to see which monologue I was going to be doing today, but I'm going to decide to do something we haven't really talked about: women's basketball. But the women's basketball, something interesting popped up this week. The NCAA announced that women's basketball teams will now finally be paid to play in the March Madness tournament. Previously, they were never paid, and now they will be joining the men and getting paid to play in these March Madness games. According to the NCAA, in a statement, they said in the first year, $15 million will be awarded to teams out of the fund, which is 26% of the women's basketball media revenue deal. That will grow to $25 million or 41% of the revenue by 2028. The 26% is on par with what men's basketball teams received the first year the performance units program was established. So that's exciting news to see that they will be finally getting paid. It's long overdue, and it's about time, and it's exciting to see, trying to equal out the rights between the men's basketball and the women's right. We finally see it happen. Very proud and happy that they are doing it. And speaking of some exciting news in the NCAA world, Don Staley, the head coach of South Carolina, has agreed to a contract extension through 2030 and will become the highest paid women's basketball coach in history of women's sports. So that is
Yeah.
exciting to see. So congrats to her, and congrats to all the women playing basketball right now, because they are can be now paid to play in the March Madness tournaments, which is super exciting to see.
Well, I'm going to say this because this is something you and I have talked about extensively on the show. The whole landscape of college sports has changed, right? It's become a money maker for everybody, players
Correct.
included, and it was just a matter of time that the women, because of the popularity of women's college basketball and the WNBA, that they're going to start to get a piece of their share, which is the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
Um,
There
I
was no
did have
question on
I
earlier.
did, yeah, and I had a conversation with one of our loyal listeners, Eric
Who
Pembroke.
actually just tuned in right now, and he said, "Happy Saturday."
Yes, Eric, and thank you for, like I said, he brought up something very interesting. Sent me an article on what we've talked about, this nil thing, and the money that's being bandied about in college sports. And he brought up a very, very good point that some of these I guess you call it private equity slash venture capitalists are now going to start to get their fingers into this mix. So it's going to change, you know, basically from the nil, which is now primarily funded by wealthy alumni and all that kind of stuff. And now with private equity becoming part of this, it's going to turn this into a corporation, and it's really going to change, and it's going to throw the whole um, spectrum of the money that's going to be paid to these players. Let me give you an example, right? Carson Beck, right? He was injured, missed the playoff game with Georgia, but he's going to Miami. and he's probably going to make $10 million, and it's just staggering. So I don't know. And Eric's a businessman. He owns his own successful financial services company, so he has an idea of this. And it was a funny picture. He said private equity equals piranhas, and he sent me a picture of a piranha. So how this is all going to unfold? First and foremost,
It's a matter of time.
it's not going to stop. It's only going to get
And
more and
grow.
more lucrative. And I'm okay with the guys getting, this money, but now the question comes down to some of these guys that are saying, I could probably Carson Beck could make more at the University of Miami than he can if he gets drafted as a second or third round pick in the draft. So it's going to change a lot of decision making for student athletes, whether they want to go into pro. And of course, you always run the risk when you stay in college, right? If there's an injury and that could derail your professional career. But sometimes you have to think maybe it's let me get what I can now and take my chances later. So
Absolutely.
great point by Eric, and great point you brought up in the monologue that the women are starting to get their fair share of this.
And it's about time. That's the message.
You bet. Good job, Eli. Good thoughts too. And Eric, thank you for sending that article, and it's a very interesting read, by the way. Okay, Eli. So this is a big Saturday in sports, right?
Yes, it
There's
is.
a lot going on. So we're going to obviously focus on football. It's the divisional playoffs weekend.
Yes, it is.
We had our first 6 games on Wild Card weekend last week. Both you and I were
We'll recap it.
4-2 in our selections.
Yes,
right?
we were. And we'll show that standings chart. Actually, why not? We'll show it right now. Here's
All
the
right.
overall standings. Right now, Jim still has a 3-game lead, but that could easily change based off this week's picks and the coming up weeks. So hopefully I can redeem the crown and be crowned the full champion of the year.
Yeah. And before we get into our picks, let's first, because it's a follow-up to our monologue last week, which is this coaching carousel, right? And there hasn't really been any hires. So, each
Except
one
Mike
of these,
Vrabel.
yeah. I mean, besides Mike Vrabel, right, which I think was a foregone conclusion. He's a Patriot
Yes.
at heart. So that's no surprise there. But a lot of these other teams, you hear the names, the popular names, Aaron Glenn, and you hear Ben Johnson. And so the Jets still looking for a GM and a coach. And a lot of these other teams looking for head coaches too. But, one of the interesting things, of course, I kind of always thought that there was a possibility that Dion and his son, because I still think it's a package deal wherever he ends up. If
That's
he
where he's
ends
going to
up
go.
leaving Colorado, it's going to be with his son. So I thought the leading candidate was the Raiders, because of the whole limelight Vegas thing. That's what Dion's all about. But interesting enough that
It
the
wasn't.
Cowboys this week did let go of Mike McCarthy. And so they're looking for a coach. And, we're hearing a lot of discussions about Jerry Jones and having conversations with Deion Sanders. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. So
When will Jerry Jones realize that it's also Dak Prescott that's the fault? I know he got injured this year, but at the same time, too, is Dak Prescott, if he has another bad, unsuccessful year, they paid him all this money to just fail for this Dallas Cowboys team. And I
yeah,
don't care if you make it to the regular season, you fail in the postseason. That is what we're seeing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look at their run last week. 28-14 was the final versus Baltimore. 14 points he put up, and they failed the past couple weeks against these tough, good teams. That is unacceptable. Between the Dallas Cowboys and the Steelers, they're both disappointing teams.
yeah,
We do have a
yeah.
comment coming
So yeah,
in. We have the sports talk with JR. He says, who do you think the Jaguars will hire as their new head coach?
well, I mean, listen, I mean, the list is pretty set, right?
Yes.
We know that, the hot commodities are Ben Johnson, and I don't think that would be a wise move if the Jets even made him an offer. The Jets will figure out some way to botch this and make the wrong pick, because that's what the Jets do. This is a history of this. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, that could be a landing spot for Ben Johnson. right? A fresh start and all that kind of stuff. Very hard to say. I do think some of the leading guys that I feel will actually get jobs is Aaron Glenn, who's proven
Right.
himself to be a, but there's you have to look at it. Some teams are trying to stay away from going with the defensive head coach rather than the offensive coach. So that's going to
Correct.
come into play. But he certainly paid his dues. Built a great defense for Detroit. There's a lot of openings, so we can only speculate, and we may not find the answers to some of this until certain teams get
Later
knocked out
on.
of the playoffs, right?
Right.
So you can interview these guys now, and it's going to be interesting to see. So
I'm very curious to see what happens next. Really curious to see what happens next season with Dallas now that they're looking for a head coach and they're going to rely solely on Dak Prescott when he fully returns.
well, listen, Eli, here's the possibility, and I know it sounds crazy, but the Cowboys, they haven't won anything with Dak Prescott. So if Jerry Jones decides to make this bold move and bring in Dion and Shador, then that could, they could potentially shop around
Or
Dak
do they
Prescott.
bench him, though? That's the question.
Yeah, but I
Because
don't.
we saw that with Atlanta.
Yeah, but he makes too much money to be benched. They would be better off probably trading him, and maybe he comes
That's
to
a
the New
fair
York
point.
Giants. Who
But we
knows?
saw that with Atlanta, though. That's my other thing that they're going to say, well, Atlanta did it. Did it work out? No. But the first half of the season, yeah, but playoffs, no.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's
You
the
know,
other thing that we have to keep in mind. We saw that Atlanta. It won't be the first time that it could happen.
I know. So there's still a lot of openings to be settled down, and we'll
Right.
get into those as they unfold going
Other news,
around.
I think in the NFL, we saw the Dolphins are going to be playing in Madrid next year, and the Indianapolis Colts will be playing in Berlin. So
Yeah,
they're heading international. Eagles linebacker Nakobe Dean has suffered a knee injury and will miss the remainder of the playoffs. He was injured during Wild Card weekend, and Fox Sports will stream the Super Bowl on Tubi.
and you can't dismiss that loss for Philadelphia. Nakobe Dean is one hell of a linebacker, and
Absolutely, that's going to be a
that's
rough
a
one.
big loss because I'm not really 100% sold on the Philadelphia Eagles in general. I don't know if it's that Jalen Hurts is not up to
His standards.
100% healthy and stuff.
Well,
So
I think they might be able to because they have the home field advantage. Right now, they have the home field advantage. They're going to try to do their best and win. And this Philadelphia team is going to find a way to win. And I think Los Angeles, they've been pretty lucky, is what I say. Looking last week with Minnesota, final score is 27-9. I think that came all down to luck that they were able to put up 27 points and stuff. I know they're trying to do it for LA and stuff, but I don't see it happening.
yeah, you can look at that game two ways because obviously the Vikings were an outstanding team all year. Sam Darnold was playing out of his mind, and maybe that was the real Sam Darnold that came out that I've been criticizing for 5 years since he came into the league. And when you look at the Rams and when Aaron Donald retired, you said, well, that's going to set this franchise back,
And it didn't.
and it did. But Matthew Stafford is also playing much better than I thought he was because I thought he was
Correct.
starting to get on the tail end of his career. But they got a lot of weapons here, and we'll talk about who's going to pick who on these games in a couple minutes. So.
All right.
All right,
Let's get
Eli,
into it.
I'm going to let you go first this time.
Okay.
Okay.
I like the switch up here.
Yeah. So
All right, here we
here's
go. Let's roll.
all
The
right.
number 4 Texans, they're at the number 1 Chiefs today, 4:30 on ESPN and ABC. Great game. But guess who's the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs? Patrick Mahomes. Guess who's the head coach? Andy Reid. Guess who's probably going to be there in attendance? Taylor Swift. You know what that means? 1 + 1 + 1 equals a Chiefs win. Give me the Chiefs for my lock of the week, 24-22.
All right, lock of the week. Remember, Kansas City basically hasn't played in like 3 weeks, so
Yeah, but it's Kansas City, and he's the quarterback.
hey, you don't have to sell me on it. I'm his biggest supporter.
I know that. Well, number 6, Commanders are at the number 1 Lions today, 8 o'clock on Fox. Great game. Commanders barely won last week by a doink field goal kick to win the game over Tampa Bay last week. So I question it. Do I think Commanders are going to make the run? I don't think so. They're going to have a Texan-style year where they're going to pass the first round. Jaden Daniels is going to get a lot of hype and stuff, but it's going to be the Lions to go further. So I'm going to take the Detroit Lions 28-21.
Okay.
The next one, the number 4 Rams are at the number 2 Eagles tomorrow, 3 o'clock on NBC and Peacock. Well, the Rams, we know they're going to be trying to do it for Los Angeles. They're trying to compete well. But there's something about this Philadelphia team that I have to trust. There's something about Jalen Hurts. There's something telling me that they're going to be playing Kansas City in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to have to take the Philadelphia Eagles 35-28.
Wow. Okay.
And then finally, the big game, number 3 Ravens at the number 2 Bills tomorrow, 6:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus. Well, we know it's a big game. It can go either way. But what was my prediction early on in the regular season? I said, don't expect Buffalo to go far, and that road ends tomorrow night. Give me the Baltimore Ravens by a field goal, 26-23.
Ooh, okay.
Now, Jim, good luck. What's your picks?
All right. Well, listen, I think we're 100% aligned on Kansas City.
Yep.
I think Patrick Mahomes, he's had time to recover from that high ankle sprain. And listen, this guy was going to play either way. He's that kind of a warrior. And yeah, they may not have had the dominating year outside of the record that they had, but they didn't win. But they only scored 30 points twice in the regular season, and both of those were overtime games. But they find a way to win. And when the playoffs start, Patrick Mahomes becomes Patrick Mahomes, and I can't dispute your pick, and I'm taking Kansas City.
Yep.
I know Tom Pugh, who's now a Kansas City resident, feels the same way. And, so Kansas City, I don't know if Taylor's going to be at the game. I would assume that she is. I know that means something to you. That's the X factor for you, but number 15 is the X factor for me. So I'm taking that one. Next game, the second game is Washington and Detroit. And now we got to be very, very careful here.
Yep.
Because I don't think a lot of people had Washington last week. And I had Tampa Bay last week. But
I had Washington.
Right, but Jaden Daniels seems to have, this ability to come back, and he's proven himself. He's obviously going to be the rookie of the year. But I'm not 1,000% comfortable that Detroit is this dominating team. However, I think they have enough. They're playing at home, and I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. But I'm going to stick with Detroit on this one, as take popular opinion into play. But I think this is a big time for Jared Goff, who's proven that he's won before. He took another team to the Super Bowl, and Detroit's got a lot of popular followings now. So I'm going to take Detroit, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Right. And it could come right down to the end, because I wondered about Jaden Daniels. Was it just good rookie luck? But no, he really is that talented, and things are really good for Washington right now. They'll get their shot next year, but I think that the road ends today against the Lions. Game 3, the Rams and Philadelphia. Now, this is going to be my pick, because I'm not that impressed. I think, they were home last week and they barely beat a kind of a banged up Green Bay Packers team. And I know, listen, they kind of contained Saquon Barkley, and if, the Eagles will go as far as he will take them. I'm not certain that Jalen Hurts is 100% healthy. I don't have the complete confidence in them. So I'm going to take the upset and go with the Rams, because the way Matthew Stafford has been playing, he's seems to be completely healthy. They got a good running attack, and I'm going with the upset here. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams to win on the road against the Eagles. And of course, we end up divisional weekend playoffs tomorrow night with the big game, which first and foremost, Eli, I like the scheduling. I think the NFL got it right, doing a 6:30 start as opposed to this 8:30 start where people
Thankfully,
can't stay up.
because
So
now we could finish the game and go to bed peacefully.
yes, and like I said, I have been on the Buffalo Bills bandwagon all season long, and I'm not jumping off it. I know this is going to be a tough test. Lamar Jackson is potentially going to win his third MVP, but he hasn't proven to me that when the chips are down, they can. I mean, two things. You would say you have to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Obvious assessment, no question about it. Henry, who I thought was kind of at the end of his career, has proven he's still one of the best running backs in the league. But I think the Buffalo Bills also, even though if they give up a lot of points, they can score a lot of points. And they're a tough team at home. And I think this is a breakthrough year for Josh Allen. Listen, either way, one of those two teams is going to have to meet up with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. But
That's the bottom line.
I like the chances here, and I'm going to go with Buffalo to beat.
Okay,
So we differ on two.
two games.
So
Wow. So it's really going to come down to the wire. Wow.
yeah, I know some guys
Go.
that are actually going to the Bills game. It's obviously the weather is always going to be a factor, but the Bills are used to playing in it, and I don't take so much credence in it that these are professional athletes. They're human beings. They've played in the cold before. They'll play in the cold again. But I really like Buffalo's chances. It's going to be a very, very close game. It's going to be one of the most watched games, obviously, of the season. So we
Bottom line.
differ a little bit. So recapping, I'm taking Kansas City, Detroit, the Rams, and Buffalo. And Eli's got Kansas City, Detroit, Philly, and Baltimore. So
Yes, indeed.
somebody's going to separate themselves or somebody's going to catch up this week, Eli, with all those
Well,
games.
Jim, the best of luck, and hopefully I'm going to be closer to that crown.
I know you are. So
Now we had
we
to
got a
college
lot of,
football.
yeah, let's jump right into college football. And
The
this
national
is,
championship is Monday,
and
7:30,
this,
ESPN, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
yep.
We're making
And
our picks.
this is the one that I think we're all delighted to see, right? The story with Notre Dame and the job Marcus Freeman has done. And remember, Marcus Freeman is a former Ohio State football player who was very good, by the way.
Yes.
You know, and then you have Ohio State, right? So this is a make or break game, I think, for they're kind of heavy favorites, which I don't get because anyway, not that I care because my feelings on sports gambling, uh, money lines, all that kind of stuff. I don't take credence into it. But this is a matchup that we all want to see. It's going to be great. And I'm going to listen, and not because I'm a homer. I've always been an Ohio State fan as well, going back to the Woody Hayes days and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I think right on if you looked at it on paper, then Ohio State should do it. But I don't know that Ryan Day has proven himself to win the big games. I mean, he still hasn't beaten Michigan in the last 4 years. So I'm going to take Notre Dame to pull the upset
Oh,
against Ohio State.
do you have a score prediction?
No, I don't do scores. You do scores.
Okay. Well, before my pick, Andrew says, "Good morning, guys. Go Irish."
Yeah. And remember, Andrew, this is not a sentimental pick. This is a sports talk show that analyzes the strong points and the weak points of both teams. And if you look at it, Ohio State seems rock solid, but I've been impressed with Notre Dame's defense, and they got a great running back as well. So I'm going to take the Irish in the upset. Eli, give me your analysis of this game.
Well, first off, Notre Dame's been playing fantastic football. Ohio State, fantastic football. We have a great final ahead of us. However, both these teams are really going to be fighting for it. Who do I think has the better potential? Who do I think played the best? Who was able to beat all these big teams? That's Ohio State. Ohio State was able to beat Oregon. They were able to beat all those guys. Notre Dame, they won, but they kept it close. For those reasons, give me OHIO in the victory, 38-28.
Okay. I think that's in reference to the Ohio State Marching Band, right? How they
I
formed
think
the
so, yeah.
OHIO.
OHIO. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sorry, Jim. Sorry, Andrew. I'm sorry to everybody who's a Notre Dame fan. But I have to take I have to take Ohio State. I think they're the better team. So give me
Okay.
Ohio State 38-28. OHIO. We'll see who gets the crown this week, Jim.
All right. No,
Uh-huh.
that should be a great game. And
That's a
again,
great game, though.
it's a Monday night game. I can't stand these late
Well,
starts, but
I agree. I
it's
agree.
all about the ratings. So that's what they're
Yeah,
gonna.
but Monday night, though, who's watching on a Monday night? Really?
Well, I mean, sports
Like,
fans are gonna
I know. I
stay
mean,
up.
the good news is, though, it's Martin Luther King Day, and most people have off of school, and
Right.
it's either that or you watch the inauguration. So I think you're gonna have to
Yeah,
watch the football,
there's a lot of there's a lot of things happening this week, not just football, but
not just
we're
politics.
getting a new president. Things are just
It's gonna be
crazy.
a mess, and yeah. Well,
Yeah.
moving
And
along.
listen, yep, moving along. Go ahead, Eli.
All
Take
right,
us to the next.
all right. Where are we going? We'll go college basketball, I guess.
Yeah, let's go there. Because as we wind down the football season, we start to ramp up in college basketball. And again, I've said this all along. We saw Tennessee was number one. They got knocked off by Florida. Florida moves up to number 4 or number 5, whatever, and then they go and lose a game.
Yeah.
So, right now, and I wanted to bring up because Indiana, I know Tom Pugh and Derek Kruger, big time Hoosier fans. I was a big time Hoosier fan growing up. Remember the Bobby Knight days and the perfect season in 1976 was amazing. Yeah, so, but they're calling for Mike Woodson's head already out in Indiana, even though they're like
Oh
13
yeah.
and 4 or whatever. But remember, Mike Woodson's a former Indiana player, and he was actually the Big Ten Player of the Year one year. So, but he's been bounced around, and I don't think they feel as though he's the right guy because they've had top prospects have transferred into that program. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And couple other things, couple other little surprises around here and locally, right? St. John's and the job Rick Pitino, which we knew was going to happen, right? He was going to leave
Right.
Iona, and he's a dynamic recruiter. He's a great coach. And they're 5-0 for the first time in conference tournament play in many, many years. So, and then, on the other side, Providence had very, very high expectations. So, things don't always work out as planned. I'm pulling for Providence. We have a connection with Kim English and the coach. So this is only his second year. So, all in all, college basketball is going to start to get exciting.
Yeah.
And, ultimately, we're going to see. But I think the biggest story in college basketball is this Cooper Flag. And,
Oh yeah.
he scored 40 some odd points. A kid who just turned 18. He's younger than you, Eli, and he's going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft next year. So, lots of
Incredible.
great college basketball. And
Yeah. I think some of my big games to watch out for this week: 12 p.m. ESPN Alabama Kentucky, 12 p.m. Fox Crane UConn, 3 o'clock NBC Purdue Oregon, 8 p.m. ESPN Duke Boston, and 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, no channel because they lost the game on Fox due to the football. St. John's Seton Hall, which is gonna be a great game.
Yeah, Seton Hall's pretty good this year.
Yeah, it's pretty good right now. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of discussion about what's the best conference. Is it the Big East? Is it the Big Ten? Is it the SEC?
We don't know. I think it's the Big East, no question about it.
Yeah, a lot of people would say it's the Big Ten. And it's funny. I was going to bring this up later. I'll show a picture, but my grandson and his buddy, I don't know how they became Oregon fans, but they went to the Penn State Oregon basketball game. It was a great game. I think Oregon won 83-82. It was a great game. So
it has to be because of the duck, the Oregon Duck mascot.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be the duck.
But now he has a Bo Nix and a Dylan Gabriel jersey. So this kid's all in on Oregon. Great.
Oregon. All right. Well, I guess I know where he's going to college.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Uh,
Anyway, so that's going on in college basketball. It's going to start to heat up, and
let's
like
go
I
to
said,
tennis, I guess, next.
well, we can go to tennis because again, a lot of our audience, aside from certain individuals, don't follow tennis as closely as I do. But this is one of the Grand Slam events. It's the Australian Open. And yeah, we're missing the Federers, we're missing the Nadals. We beat that horse to death. But Djokovic is still in this. And I mean, I don't know. We've talked about it before. There's a lot of young up and coming guys like Sinner and Medvedev and all these guys. And one of the bigger names up and coming is Taylor Fritz, who was knocked out of the tournament yesterday. So
Right.
we're gonna. I think this is going to be a defining moment for Novak Djokovic, and whether or not he's up there now in age. He's got to be 37, I want to say, maybe
Something like that, yeah.
So this is one of those for insomniacs. The Australian Open is great. It's because it's a big time difference, so you can watch it live at 2 a.m. So that's also awesome. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll have an update from the Australian Open next week as well.
Yes.
All right, Eli. A couple of quick things. Yeah, I guess the NBA we have to talk about.
Yep.
Two of the biggest. Yeah, one's a surprise, one's not. Oklahoma City Thunder and the season that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having.
And Cleveland.
Yeah, that's the other team.
They were like teams last year. Now all of a sudden, whoa, hold on, where did they go?
I know, but when they've met up a couple of times, OKC has actually taken the games. So I think there's a real legitimate shot. And remember, Oklahoma City is doing this without Chet Holmgren, right? The big guy in the middle. So this guy, Alexander, is really playing at an MVP level. And I think he's obviously the front runner for MVP so far. But the NBA, and then you get on the other side. And I've talked about this. You and I've talked about it offline with these players that they go in, they say they want to trade and they're under contract. And the newest guy is Jimmy Butler, and in Miami. So they went out, they brought him back after a 7-game suspension. So he's turned into a malcontent, which anytime you have a cancer on your team like that, then
Right.
you're not going to win. So
that's what we're seeing.
It's a little bit disappointing for me because I started to take a liking for Jimmy Butler after he left Philadelphia and he went to Miami, and they were a real competitive team. But him and Pat Riley just simply do not get along. And Pat Riley is going to,
right.
I don't think he's going to give in to this trade demand. So that means Butler's days in Miami are over. They may have to eat the contract. But
I think it's over for me.
Yeah, he's also 36 years old. So he's at the tail end of his career. So his demands aren't,
The same.
Yeah, they're much different. So,
right. Oh, Derek comments. He says, "Good morning, team, and good morning, Derek, to you, and thanks for watching."
I know, Derek. Thank you. You got a little mention with your Hoosiers, so let's see what happens with them. I appreciate the comment and the support always, for sure. So we got that, and then when we look at the NBA, you still got to, the teams to be concerned about are, look at the Knicks. They're playing really, really well, right?
I'm impressed, but can they keep it up heading into the playoffs? That's the question.
Yeah, they seem to struggle against some of the better teams like OKC, and they lost last night to Minnesota.
Right.
One thing about the NBA, I do enjoy watching this kid Anthony Edwards. He is a real dynamic player.
That's about it.
Really good. And, I don't watch as much of the NBA maybe as you do.
No, I don't really watch NBA as much as NFL and NHL and all that. Yeah.
Right, but you got the usual suspects, the Bostons, the Denver Nuggets. These are teams. So it's really from an NBA perspective, there's a lot of opportunities for teams to make noise in the playoffs coming up. But it's a long, long season, and we're not even halfway done yet.
Yep. And the NBA on NBC is returning, as we all know, next year, and they released its first commercial with Jack McBrayer as its star role. As you may know from the 30 Rock show, he
Yeah,
starred in the commercial. It's pretty funny, actually. It was a pretty good commercial.
yeah. And one other NBA note, and this is a little personal for me because then QB Brown is calling his last game this week, or may have called
Yep.
his last game. He's 90 years old. He's a Niagara graduate. I've had an opportunity, and I spent some time talking with QB Brown over the years. Couple of occasions when I made it back to school. He's always there, big supporter of Niagara. Wish him all the best of luck. I mean,
Absolutely.
he's a basketball mind. He's donated his entire life to college basketball, and that's a big loss in the booth for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Eli. Let's touch base on a little bit of Major League Baseball, right? So
Yes.
we're still seeing some of these how things are going to unfold, right? See, we still have Pete Alonso's situation, which looks like, and I want to caution people. He turned down this Mets offer, but that may be the best offer he's going to get. So it's his
Correct.
days in New York. Although they say he turned it down, he won't return to the Mets. I don't believe that. I think there's still a possibility that he ends up back with the Mets because I don't know that someone's going to give him the 6-year,
Right.
Aaron Judge type contract.
But you just said that the days in over in New York. That's maybe for Queens. There's still a chance in the Bronx.
Well, yeah, the discussion about that is they did sign Goldschmidt, and they do have there's a Japanese prospect that the Yankees have an eye on. So, that could be not this year, but the following year.
Right.
And a lot of stuff depends. I think the Yankees have done a very decent job losing out on Soto, which
That was a big one.
Yeah, and that's going to go down as. Look, he's a great
I
player.
don't think. Go for it. Yeah, we'll finish up. Sorry.
Yeah, I just think that the money is just over the top for one player, and you see, again, here's in the news. So the Dodgers, like the old saying, the rich get richer. They signed this kid Sasaki yesterday.
Yeah.
So look at this all-star team they have amassed, and always the question comes up: where is all this money coming from? How is one team able to spend this kind of money?
Exactly.
They already got the Otani, they got the Betts, they got the Freeman.
It's the LA Dodgers.
And I guess it is, and they have to pay that luxury tax, right?
Oh, how much have they donated so far to their city?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that money yet.
I
mean, maybe I have. Maybe it's ever been released. I just didn't see it. But
that puts the early odds that they're going to be the team to beat again. And,
yeah. But to your point about Soto, real quick, I want to go back to that.
Yep.
I think it's going to work out for the Yankees. I really do think so, because if he's really that selfish to go for $5 million more to go with the Mets, there's something that's going to linger. Like a bad luck is going to stay. The Mets aren't going to do good, and he's not going to be the same person that he once was with the Yankees. And I have a good feeling that for the Yankees, this might work out for them. I know right now in the beginning, you were all like, oh, how dare he, whatever. We're never going to watch him. We're going to boo him when he plays the Mets. But yeah, it's one thing. But there's something telling me that the Yankees are going to do better. There really is. I think that they are going to do better. And I think it's going to hurt right now. But when the regular season starts, it won't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't know.
I mean, look, remember, they still got one of the best players in the game in number 99, Aaron
For
Judge.
regular season, though.
I know.
Fair about that. And my pet peeve about the postseason with Aaron Judge.
I know. And that's the knock that everybody gets. And I'm saying, you know what? I am still on his bandwagon. I think he's great. I think he just had a terrible playoff. And
every playoff, though, Jim, every single season. That's what I get annoyed about. He's great in the regular season, don't get me wrong. But the goal in the MLB is what? To win the World Series. Not to be the king of the regular season and win the MVP and fail in the postseason. That is not the goal.
I understand.
Your goal is to win the World Series. And I've not seen that yet with Aaron Judge. And I'm very disappointed in seeing that. You know my pet peeve.
It's a valid point, and I can't. I'm defenseless when I try to defend it, but
there's no way to defend because there is no way to stick up for him considering how bad he's been in the postseason. And it's not just this year; it's been every year the Yankees have been making the playoffs,
I
and
know.
when he's healthy, that's when I get annoyed.
Yep. Well, that just makes you wonder. I mean, does the pressure of the postseason get to somebody like that? I don't know, but
Well, is it that, or is he worried about other things that we're not really supposed to know? Maybe he has a trip planned. Maybe he's going to Cancun or something.
right. Well, listen. I mean, believe it or not, let's look at the calendar. Right, we're a month away from pitchers and catchers
Yeah,
reporting. So the baseball season is coming. It's
it's
coming quick.
underway soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. All
and I
right,
think it's
Eli.
time to head to some random points.
We got random points, and of course, that's sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And it was great to have, like I said, have an opportunity to see Mike last week, and with a couple of my other roommates, Jay and Bernie. It really was a spectacular day to see Mike, and again, loyal supporter of the show since day one. Okay, I got a couple random points, and I know you always do as well. I thought that one of the things that was funny that I watched in the Bills game last week that Damar Hamlin had quote unquote which was ruled an interception. It turned out not to be,
Yeah.
and yet he does the Lambeau leap in the stands for a
Ah,
play that really had no significance. So you got to pick and choose your moments. When the ref says you scored a touchdown, or it better be that way. Otherwise, that's kind of a bad look, I think.
oh yeah.
Right. And Eli, when we talk about, and this was kind of shocking, I mean, to me, and it's almost like no surprise because the Philadelphia Eagle fans and Philadelphia in general is a very tough city. But they had caught this guy just berating um, a Green Bay Packers fan in the stands, and it was uncalled for, unsolicited, unprovoked, and they got the guy. And I'm glad that they got the guy because you should be able to go to a football game or a sporting event and not be berated. And I have a personal
Correct.
history, especially in Philadelphia. I won't go into the details, but it turned out it was a very dangerous situation for me being a New York Rangers fan. It was at a Flyers game, and I think I may have told the story, but I did have a chance to speak to the owner of the Flyers, and he made good on everything. But we see this before. I've seen it. It's not just isolated to Philadelphia. I was at a Bills game a couple seasons ago, and it's a couple of bad apples that spoil the whole bunch. And I saw the way that they treated some New England Patriots fans. I've been to Jet games where they were just horrendous to the opposing team fans. And I'm glad that they got this
Yep.
guy. And I'm glad that he's banned from football. And it cost him his job. You got to remember, everything we do from now to the rest of our lives is
It's
going to
on
be on
social
video.
media.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it is.
It's gonna cost your job. And we know that.
So I'm glad they got rid of him. Eli, this is something that I really wasn't aware, or maybe I wasn't paying attention to. I've been an Optimum subscriber for many years,
Oh, and the
and
MSG networks.
the MSG network is now. I got to call them and pay more money to get MSG games where I've had it as part of my package. You have brought this up many times. It's an outrage. And I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I think this is probably going to finally push me to stop paying James Dolan for this cable. And now I got to pay
Well,
extra for a channel that's been part of my package forever. And you know what?
well,
That affects me because that's where the Knicks play and that's where the Rangers play. And it's
the problem
terrible.
is the MSG networks ask for too much money, and that's the issue. And the Optimum said, "Well, no, we don't want to pay for it." That's the bottom line, and that's why you're gonna have to, you, the consumer, have to pay more. Now, I'm
Oh,
lucky to have Verizon, where I'm able to watch it. Thankfully, nothing yet happened. I'm gonna pray for that as well,
yeah.
that they continue to not have any issues with Verizon. But
I'm sick
yeah,
over that.
I'm sure you are.
Sick over it. I got to figure out where I'm going to go next because play playoff hockey in the Rangers, even though it's not their year. The Devils are a better team. I'll concede
Well,
that for
there
you.
you go. Thank you for not
All right.
acknowledging. Except right now we're doing a dry January. I can go into a different argument about that.
Yeah, well, you guys have a good team. You got one of the up
Yeah,
and
well, I
coming
mean, we've been
stars.
losing a lot of games lately, and it seems like we're
Yeah.
trying to do a dry January.
Well, we always said that the NHL season is just so long.
Oh yes.
It's
So
long.
yeah. Mhm.
Couple other quick notes. Don't look now, but Roger Goodell is not going to let up until there's an 18-game regular season schedule in the NFL.
Okay. I'm okay with it. I can't argue. I'm okay with it. I have no issues.
Well, as long as they get rid of, because we don't need 4 preseason games. In the old days, it used to be 6. But he is not going to rest until he gets this 18-game schedule because
I like it.
It's all about the money, and that's one less week that the NFL will get no ratings for a preseason game and get more ratings for a regular season game, and that's the impetus behind it. And
I've always liked that idea. And
Yeah.
not just that, that would push it back to President's Day weekend, the Super Bowl,
yeah,
which I think that would be a great thing.
I know, but look how long the season is becoming already, though. So either they
But that's
started
great though, because football is only like a 3 or 4 days out of the week, while every other sport is 7 days a week.
Yeah,
That's what makes that sport special. And to continue to have that for another week is great. I love the idea.
I know. That's the thing that just it says we complain and complain about the cost, and they're putting these on streaming services.
If it's more streaming though, then I think it's a horrible idea. But
But we
that's just
can't-
my opinion.
But we love the NFL. I go back 100 years, and I just love the NFL itself. And we keep giving in. We keep buckling in because it's that enticing. A sport, it's the
Exactly.
most popular sport, and
Eventually, there'll be a time to give up, but not now.
I know, but we saw it on Christmas Day. The NBA that they owned the sports market on Christmas Day, and they lost out.
And
to
they lost
NFL.
that to Netflix within a heartbeat.
Yeah. Okay, Eli, give me your random points here.
All right. Well, one note I forgot to bring up in the MLB section: outfielder Jarren Duran and the Red Sox agreed on a 1-year, $3.85 million deal. Officially done.
Sounds like a bargain.
Yeah. Philadelphia will open a new stadium for the 76ers and Flyers by 2031 in South Philadelphia. That was announced this week.
How can that be? They they already have a new Spectrum where they all play. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but
yeah, well, you know how Philadelphia is. They can't sit still.
Okay.
TikTok will shut down in the U.S. tomorrow unless a deal is reached with the Biden administration or somebody picks up and buys TikTok. But right now, there's a lot of people interested in buying TikTok, but it has not officially gone through yet. So if that is the case, and there is no deal reached between Biden's administration and, of course, TikTok, this will mean the app will be still available. However, you're unable to access their TikTok, stuff. And basically, which means is you'll go to a statement saying why the United States does not want TikTok.
What's your take on that? What's your feeling on TikTok? Are you a TikTok guy? Because I don't know anything about it.
I don't have TikTok, so I can't speak for that matter. But from what I see, everybody else, it's just becoming a big addiction, and it's not a U.S. owned thing. So I could see why they want to get rid of it because they want to make sure it's U.S. and not another country stealing information from the United States. Makes sense. Eventually, I do think a deal is going to work out. I think TikTok will give up, and I think somebody from the U.S. will buy it. I think Mr. Wonderful is interested at this time for TikTok, and Mr. Beast is interested in buying it. So I'm curious to see who officially takes over. I don't think it's going to be the end to TikTok in the United States. They will get it back. But for right now, maybe a couple of days. It's going to be like one of those strike deals like we see with the television cable companies.
Yeah. I wonder, does Sports with Mono and Mono expand to the TikTok platform?
Well, we'll see if we can get it back in the U.S. If not, then
okay.
That's for right now. Expect it to shut down tomorrow. So give your condolences if you're a fan of that.
Okay.
And finally, SpaceX Starship blew up in the middle of the Caribbean this week. Starship took off from Texas this week, made a successful catch with its booster, which I think that's the best part about the whole Starship. However, it exploded in the middle of Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean, and it looked like a shooting star of debris coming down. The videos that we saw on X from onboard Icon of the Seas, the Royal Caribbean cruise ship, and from Turks and Caicos was like a shooting star, almost like a war scene you're about to happen, like an
Yeah,
ending to a movie. It was that crazy, but pretty cool to see despite it blowing up. But that
I
goes to
know.
show you nobody's perfect, and it's all part of human nature. Thankfully, it was a test flight and no humans were on board.
And listen, this is no joke. This space exploration thing, they're all in. The Bezos, right? He's got his Blue Origin
Yes,
thing. They're
Bezos
sending
has
up
done it.
rockets
Yeah.
too. Yeah. So
But I do got to say, though, this is pretty cool. The SpaceX, what they're doing. I mean, to let that thing, it's like a football now. You got to like try to catch the rocket. That's pretty cool.
it's
I mean,
amazing.
I mean, despite it crashing and blowing up in the middle of space, I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. The fact that it can just catch itself, I think that's
Yeah.
incredible.
And this is, this brought back memories, for me. And you mentioned that, thank goodness there was no humans on board and stuff like that. But it was reminiscent for me of the Challenger explosion.
Yes, the Challenger,
Um,
Columbia.
but there was a full lineup of astronauts on that Challenger thing, and I was watching it live, and I was just
Yeah.
going, "Oh my goodness!"
What about Columbia too? Columbia heading back to space, and they knew something was wrong.
Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's this is way above my intellectual
Yeah.
level, but it's really, really cool stuff. By the way,
Oh yeah, it is pretty cool stuff. This whole space exploration thing, and I think the whole SpaceX thing too is pretty incredible to see. And this is just the future, and that's what makes it fantastic. It's just the beginning. It's the future. That's what makes it exciting. Jim, are you still there?
It's
Jim, still there? Jim, if you can hear, you might want to go back in
this
and out.
weather pattern we're having. Eli, you there?
Yeah, you might want to go back in and out. You there?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You
All right,
okay?
perfect. We're good. All right, yes. All right.
Yeah, you can hear me now, right?
Yes, perfect. All right.
All right, good. Sorry about
Perfect.
these little glitches.
Yeah.
The weather patterns that we're dealing with. So,
Yeah. All right. Well,
all
bottom
right, good
line is
stuff. Sorry about
that's
that,
space.
folks.
That's random points.
Uh,
And now we go to the entertainment and photo segment. That is sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan this QR code to learn more.
Yep. And Vital Selections is our newest sponsor of the show. I think the business is starting to gain some momentum. Like I said, the health is the best thing about the product, and check it out. Check out the QR code that Eli is posting.
Yeah.
All right, Eli. So let's go to our movie recommendation. And like I said, last week I did Jailhouse Rock because it was Elvis Presley's 90th birthday. But I also have a good movie for us this week, The Blues Brothers.
Okay.
Have you ever seen The Blues Brothers?
Nope.
Seen it?
No, never did.
Check it out. It's pretty funny. Dan
Okay.
Aykroyd, John Belushi. Goes back a few years, but it stands the test of time. Very, very funny.
All right.
And I
Well,
brought that up because John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd were original cast members of Saturday Night Live, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. So
yeah, it's pretty
you see
incredible.
that
50
little-
years. Yeah,
See
the
that
connection.
little place? You see how we work things in, huh?
Yeah. And tonight, Dave Chappelle hosts Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, 50th year. Great.
50th
Amazing.
year. Dave Chappelle's on tonight. Well, of course, Monday's inauguration day. You have every channel broadcasting it live. It's going to be indoors for the first time since the Reagan administration, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, yeah. Other news for entertainment. This week, obviously, was the 16th anniversary of the Miracle on the Hudson. On January 15th, Sully plane, they landed in the Hudson River. So, like I said, if you have not seen the movie, you have to see it, Sully. And the other recommendation is Everybody Loves Raymond. I think that's my show, the recommendation to watch for the week.
Everybody Loves Raymond is one of my favorite shows, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. So funny. All right, let's get to some photos.
Very similar to like. Okay, Eli. Photo one. Let's see. That's my. Now it looks kind of funny, like a basketball head. But that's my grandson. He's playing in his game, and they won big last night, so he's really having a great season. So I wanted to put that up. Love seeing him play. And here's that. You can't see it. Oh, there you can see. He's with his buddy, and they went to what I mentioned before. They went to the Penn State Oregon game. So, these guys get treated pretty good. They got their Oregon garb on, and I think Oregon won the game. I don't know. It was 83-82. I keep forgetting who won, but that's a great picture too.
Wow. It looks like a good restaurant, Dave.
Yep. Okay. And here's an interesting thing. That's Chuck Bednarik. This was the championship game between the Eagles and the Giants back in 1960. And why did I put this picture up? Because number 60. And that is because I wanted to wish my little brother a very happy 60th birthday this past week. So we always send a thing. I actually sent him a picture of an old-time player that a lot of people may not know. Some of our older audience would, but Tommy Nobis. Right. He was a former linebacker at the University of Texas, played for a lousy Atlanta Falcons team for many years, but he was a perennial Pro Bowler, and happy birthday, my little brother.
Happy birthday, and we want you back on the show just for an episode or two. We want you back. We want to.
Yes, can't wait to have him back. He will be
absolutely.
back.
We will have him back. We will have him back.
Okay,
now
Eli, so we got some notable passings. Okay. And there was one big one, a big one for me, because I've been following this guy and watching him. He's just got a brilliant sense of humor. Baseball guy. He kind of makes fun of himself. He had a very mediocre, to say the least. He's only a 200 lifetime batting average, but that's Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball. And, a couple of things. Bob Uecker was on Johnny Carson over 100 times. That's how much Johnny Carson enjoyed having his stories. And he's just a great storyteller and one hell of a broadcaster, too. He's been the Brewers broadcaster for over 50 years. He passed away at age 90. And he used to star in a show back when, I think maybe when I was your age, Eli. He was called Mr. Belvedere. And Bob Uecker was the star of that show. But if you have an opportunity to listen to some old clips of him, it's extremely, extremely funny, very knowledgeable. And, that was a big loss for Major League Baseball. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame with the Ford Frick Award. And he said that was the greatest moment of his life, and big, big loss. And one other note, and I'm not, from a soap opera fan, certainly not a soap opera guy, but Leslie Charleston, who was on the long running and still running, I believe, right? General Hospital soap opera. Yeah. She was the longest tenured actor on that series. So this show's been on forever. She was 79 years old. So she passed away this week.
Yeah. And the other one I have is longtime Madison Square Garden photographer George Kalinsky. He passed away on Thursday. He was born in 1936 and 88 years old. He did the Knicks coverage and stuff. And
Wow. I'm assuming he was part of the reason some of those classic pictures of Will Chamberlain, Willis Reed in the 70 series, the 70 finals. Okay. Well noted. All right, Eli. So we got a big day today.
We do. We have a great day of football and some basketball and some hockey and whatever you want to watch. There's something to watch today. So take a look and enjoy that.
And listen, we again, thank you very much for your support. We get emails at sportswithmono@gmail.com. You could see that we get people that are watching the show live, posting comments. And that means everything to us. And, we're going to continue to expand the show. We're going to come up with new ideas. Like I said, we're going to have more guests on the show because, it was just great to have Kevin, great to have Arda, great to have Ben and Luke Whippler. And, these are what makes, the topics that we talk about interesting. And
absolutely
thank them, for their past appearances. And we're going to have some more going forward in 2025.
All right.
Eli, great job today. Nice monologue.
All right.
Enjoy the
care,
games.
everyone.
And,
have a
we
great
got a
day.
snowstorm coming. So be careful
And
out
stay
there.
warm because it's going to be cold.
It is
And we'll
going to
see
be cold.
everybody next Saturday at 10 o'clock on Sports with Mono Mono.
You guys, you got it, Eli. Thanks. Have a
Bye-bye,
great
everyone.
weekend, everybody. Enjoy the games.
Take care.